I may have gone too hard at Adepticon. Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to Eon's Battle, and welcome to the first episode of Other Games April, the month where we take a look at games other than that one army game. It's like a grimdark, I forget, other little games. We just got back from Adepticon, where Eons of Battle Industries may have purchased a few too many new things, but I'm very proud to report that I did not buy a single Games Workshop anything, which is awesome. I often talk about how my pile of shame is growing a little bit out of control, but my Games Workshop pile of shame did not grow at all at Adepticon. My pile of shame for everything else, well, let's get into it. I got 7 games, 5 of them brand spanking new, and just a couple of hobby adjacent things. And let's start out with those. So going through the first bag, I've already proven myself wrong. I did actually buy some things for Warhammer 40k, but not from Games Workshop, so I'm still feeling good about it. I bought some Black Templar dice from Baron of Dice, which I've been just ogling and drooling over online, and they were there in person, so I got to get some Black Templar dice. But I also got fancy dancy Conquest dice. Conquest, Last Argument of Kings, Clack, as it is. That is the official name of the game, is Clack. So really excited to have those dice. One thing that really surprised me that I got at Adepticon was I got a fleet of Artist Opus brushes. And I've always considered Artist Opus I've always been very skeptical because the brushes are expensive and I do great work with my cheap garbage brushes and a few smatterings of better quality things. So I've actually been painting with these for a week since I got back, and oh Byron, these are very nice brushes. I'll still continue to use my garbage because they're great for base coating, they're great for all sorts of things, and I can never let go of my Rosemary & Co. Synthetic Series 313 size 3, but man, these are some really good brushes. And speaking of other things that I am very skeptical about, I have not gotten to try these yet, but I was at the Dirty Down booth, and I've seen these very expensive paints all over the place. I've seen people do really good work with them. I haven't gotten a chance to use them because apparently I need a vortex mixer because I was shaking Dirty Down Moss yesterday for about 5 minutes and the mixing ball didn't budge an inch. So maybe I'll have to put these into some sort of duct tape it to my saw and just let it shake for an hour. There's 3 types of Dirty Down. There's Dirty Down Rust, Dirty Down Moss, and Dirty Down Verdigris, and they all do look, except for maybe the Moss, they all do look exactly like what they're supposed to look like. The Rust is exactly Rust. The Verdigris is exactly Verdigris, which is actually why I didn't buy it, because typically when you're painting Verdigris onto miniatures, you're using it as a situation where you can sneak a really kind of pastel-y or electric blue onto a paint job. Like when we paint Verdigris, we're not trying to paint like the Statue of Liberty, like that green tinge it has. We're trying to create an effect, and so I feel like perfectly replicating Verdigris is usually not the move on miniatures, but I am excited to try out Rust, and from some of the examples I saw of the Moss, it looked to me a little bit more like Toxic Sludge. And I could put some Toxic Sludge on miniatures. I'm actually working on a Adeptus Mechanicus kill team that's wandering with some Rust Stalkers wandering through a radiated landscape, and I think that this will actually come in handy, but I have not gotten to try these out yet, so don't go buying these yet. They're really expensive, and I don't know. I feel like paint is paint. You can create anything with paint. I don't know if these are going to be the thing, but speaking of paints, I have tried almost all brands of paints, and they're all fine. You can do really good work with any of them, but I decided to expand my horizons just a little bit, and I got the AK Interactive Starter Set, the Basic Starter Set, which has a really pretty box with lots of really fun colors on it, which is one of the reasons I picked it up. But I actually have been painting with this for the week, and I am, I guess, impressed. I think they're good. They're very good. They're definitely not like a game changer. I'm not gonna throw out all of my other colors, and the reds are good. What I've noticed about these AK paints is they're very consistent color to color. If I put them all on my palette, they all behave exactly the same way, where a lot of the other brands that I have, there's clear winners and clear losers. Where, you know, I love Games Workshop's Evil Sun Scarlet. It's like the most beautiful red color I've ever painted with. It darkens really nicely, it brightens really nicely. That color will probably always be one of my go-to paints. Vallejo Magic Blue is another just phenomenal color. And, you know, the reds in here, I didn't like them as much as my Games Workshop Evil Sun Scarlet, but they were very, very nice paints. They actually worked really, really well with the Artist Opus brushes because I was practicing my dry brushing. I actually got to meet Byron and I got a one-on-one lesson in dry brushing where I learned that I do everything wrong, so it was really, really fun to try out these paints. And I'm gonna try out every single brand of paint that is aimed at us miniature people, and miniature people because I'm very short, miniature wargamers, and just see what's out there, because eventually I will have my list of these are the greatest colors to ever color a miniature of all time. And then I will finally just be able to have like 40 colors on my desk, full stop. That is all I will ever need to paint every single thing ever under the sun. But this stuff is boring. This isn't miniatures, and oh boy, we got a lot of miniatures. First up for you mega nerds out there, Conflict 47. I know that historicals are an incredibly huge part of this hobby, but I just have no desire to get into historicals. This is as close as I am willing to get for right now, but it should be really, really fun. The Conflict 47 is set in 1947, but a weird version of 1947 where there's like aliens and werewolves and steam-powered tanks and all sort, and laser tanks for the Americans, and weird kind of Tesla coil tanks for the Soviet Union. This looks like it'll be really, really fun. This game uses the exact same rules as Bolt Action. So I will be playing a historical war game. It's a little bit, though, of a fake historical war game, but I am really, really excited for it. I know Nick was telling me all about his favorite video game of all time, Red Alert, which apparently is along the lines of this game, and so we'll probably be taking a look at that and maybe recreating that video game world with the paint jobs on these miniatures. And of course, I'll always win, so that'll be really, really fun. But yeah, we got 2 starter boxes, so 2 full armies. So yeah, that'll be... I am actually excited for this game. I think it'll be really, really fun. The starter box armies look very doable. Probably maybe like a week-long project to get these all painted up. Maybe I'll do a little Artist Opus dry brushing to get my guys all painted up very nicely and very quickly. But I'm actually somewhat excited for a historical war game. And yes, not technically a historical war game, but I am counting it as a historical war game. Ooh, and you know what? As much as I'm saying that these are historical war games, we also got another historical war game by my definition. This is historical because it has boats in it. This is Armada by Mantic, makers of very, very fun games. And I got to demo this at Adepticon. I actually demoed all of the games that I got and a whole bunch of other games that we didn't end up buying. One, because we weren't allowed. I guess we could have pre-ordered it. Star Wars Shatterpoint, we got to demo it. And I've been so excited for Star Wars Shatterpoint because the models are so gorgeous. I love Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated TV show that was on Cartoon Network. It's one of my favorite Star Warses to ever Star Wars. And you know what? It's fine. Didn't knock my socks off, but this game did knock my socks off. Sean and I demoed it, my nemesis, and we got the rules so quickly that we were actually correcting the guy giving us the demo at one point, and Sean was already cheating a little bit. And that's a really good sign. If Sean is already cheating, that means that he has got the game down pat. So this game looks really, really fun. It gave me big flashbacks to Star Wars X-Wing, the first edition, when I was playing it all the time because it's just move, position, shoot. Move, shoot. Move, shoot. Move, shoot. And the way you actually activate your miniatures, I would say, is almost better than X-Wing, because X-Wing, you just went down the pilot skill, so you could kind of almost decide if you wanted to go first or second just by purchasing pilots with better or worse piloting skills. This game actually has wind, and the wind decides what ship activates first. At the beginning of every turn, after you've set up your ships, you decide what direction the wind is blowing in, and then you draw a line across the board, and as the wind hits ships, that ship is allowed to activate next. And so what happened early on in our demo is I got the upper hand because the wind was on my side, and so I got to pilot my ships and shoot first. But then, all the way till the end of the game, the wind was on Sean's side, and he just always got to activate first and just blow me off of the sea, because this is a boat game and it takes place in the water. It was really, really fun. This is the 2-player starter set. It comes with the orcs and the good guys. It's presumably because the orcs can't be the good guys. That's not allowed. And we also got a couple of the big ships, because usually larger vehicles like this can like really change the way a game plays. And so I'm really excited to get all of this stuff painted up. It looks like a really, really easy to jump into game. We host game nights every weekend where all of our buddies come over, and we usually can get one game of Kill Team in, and then everybody is done. And then we play board games or card games for the rest of the night. But I think this is a really, really good game to like, you know what, let's play a couple of games of Armada, and we'll, go back and forth, blow some people up, and then, we'll go to Culver's. So I'm really excited for this game. I really, really enjoyed the spit out of it. It was really, really fun to play. And I'm gonna get to paint some boats. I'm gonna get to dabble a little bit more in historical wargaming, because some of the boats are actually based on like real boats from real life, like the Japanese junks and like the big sailing vessels, and some of them are very fantastical. In fact, I think they just came out with a new faction that is sea monsters, which is very cool. But yeah, Armada, really, really fun game, and I'm very excited to play it. And you know what? Let's just stay in Mantic Land just a little bit longer. We got the new edition of, or not edition, but we got the new starter box for Mantic's Dead Zone. I really like Mantic's Dead Zone. I love Kill Team, but Kill Team is a lot. Kill Team is a lot more competitive, and it is a project to learn a Kill Team team. And you really should play like 10 games of your Kill Team to really understand it and all of its little eccentricities and all of its little mechanics. Dead Zone is a lot more like maybe classic 40K, like 6th and 7th edition, where there's actual list building in this game where you purchase all of your whatever miniature you want with points, and then you make them fight. And the movement system is based on a grid, a 3-inch grid, which is super, super awesome, because you don't realize how much time and energy is spent measuring everything with a tape measure, where you don't have to really do anything if you're like, I'm gonna move one cube, and then I'm gonna move another cube. Boom. And then you can do things like the Vermine have like a big bruiser unit that can punch people, and you can punch people out of their block into an adjacent block. Grenades can also knock people from blocks into other blocks. It's a really, really fun game, and this version comes with the kind of zombie-ish faction and the elf faction, but the super incredibly science fiction versions of those factions. So we'll finally have some new factions to play with, and hopefully I'll actually be able to win with some of these, because I don't think I've actually ever won a game of Dead Zone. But that's pretty par for the course for every miniature game I've ever played. Now, before we get to the game that I blew my hobby budget for the year on, I want to talk about a lovely little game we got to demo called Relic Blade. We actually got to meet the person who came up with Relic Blade, Sean Sutter. And also, what is it about Sean's in tabletop wargaming? I know a lot of Sean's who are like pretty hardcore. This game is like a micro skirmish game. It's small miniatures on a small 2x2 board with, I guess, fewer things to do than might be in other games, but it kind of blurs the line between maybe like a Dungeons and Dragons and a miniature war game. It's a small bands of dudes. You purchase them with these cards where it says that this guy, the Lizard Hound, is worth 12, I guess, requisition points. And it just, when we got to demo it, it played really, really nicely. This is another game I feel like is very inviting and very easy to understand, very easy to play. And I think that is really, really nice to have around. A tabletop war game where you can just sit down and go. I also love this form factor. It's just nice and small. It's just a little bit bigger than like a VHS tape. I really, really like it. And the creator, Sean Sutter, did everything for this game. He wrote the rules, He did all of the artwork. He sculpted all of the miniatures. Like, it is a one-man band, and it looks like a really, really impressive war game. So I'm gonna get all of the miniatures painted up, and I also bought some terrain to go along with this. From Bad Squiddo Games, which is a company famous for making little tiny capybaras and guinea pigs with like machine guns and stuff on them, which I didn't get to buy because I think they were like sold out immediately. But I did get some gross looking pigs, which is gonna turn into some lovely terrain for Relic Blade. And I also bought some MDF terrain. And MDF terrain, I've built a bunch in the past. It's okay, but I wanna see how good can I make MDF terrain look? And I think Relic Blade is going to be a wonderful game to try that out on and see just how good I can get this stuff looking. Because it is nice, like, it would take me all heckin' day to build a windmill out of like plasticard and stuff, but I mean, this is gonna take like 5 minutes to put together, and then I can spend hours and hours adding to it and perfecting it. So I think that this will be a really, really good opportunity to try some new stuff out. I am very hopeful that Relic Blade will become one of those games that my friends will actually want to play, like maybe more than one game of it at a time, because it does look like a really, really fun game to play. Another thing I was really excited to find at Adepticon was some Malifaux stuff for a faction that I actually play, but what this thing that Malifaux does is, not only do they have like 50 factions spread across, or 50 like different groups spread across 8 different factions that covers everything under the sun, from goblins to wizards to cowboys to knights of old to zombies. But every now and again, they will actually make sort of alternative miniatures that fit in the same scheme as the original like team did, but exists a little bit outside of it or adds like another layer of interest to it. So I play Colette Dubois, who is an arcanist leader, and she runs the Star Theater, which is kind of a burlesque show, but it's actually a front for robbing the world of magic. And this is actually built on that idea, but this is themed around a carnival. And so I'll get to add like another layer to her show. Like, you know, maybe they do a little burlesque and then they do a little bit of a carnival act and then they finish off with another layer of burlesque. But it'll be really, really cool. It comes with alternative characters for some of the characters that I already have, and it comes with some brand new units that I can slot in, and it should be, oh, it's gonna be so cool. I have all of my gang in a Cobalt Keep army display case, and I might need to get like a second one because I have almost every single miniature you can possibly get for that faction, and now I have even more. Oh, I love Malifaux so much. It is such a good game. It goes off of a card system, a 52 deck of card with the jokers in it, so I guess 54 deck of cards, like the full everything. The only thing you're not using is that rule card that teaches you how to play poker. But it's such a great game. No dice. A war game with no dice whatsoever. It's so genius. It's no dice. You just flip cards. And what's great is you can sort of count the cards. Like if your opponent plays an ace, you know that they probably don't have another ace, but you have an ace, and so you just know that this next flip is gonna go perfectly for you. It's such a great game. And speaking of great games, we bought tons and tons of stuff for a lovely little war game, a skirmish-based war game called Arena Rex. I actually got an Arena Rex model last year, and I was blown away by just how beautiful the actual miniatures are, which is like one of the big reasons why I wanted to get it. But I got to demo it this year, and it's a really, really good game. It's a nice, tight skirmish game, and it actually has a cascading damage tree that is identical to the cascading damage tree in the new Shatterpoint game, which is kind of funny. The way it works is like if you have a really good roll and when you're attacking somebody, you have this little tree, and you can kind of decide between going down the maximum damage version of the tree or the maximum perk tree. And so you can decide like, well, maybe I can just finish this guy off if I go all damage, or I don't know if I can finish this person off, but maybe I can get myself a couple of focus tokens and have a better turn the turn afterwards, or have a better chance of defending when they get a chance to attack me back. So it gives you like another layer to that combat where like you actually have to make a decision. It's not just a slugfest. And you can even do some really, really fun things like bribe people, because it's a gladiatorial combat game. And so sometimes you can just bribe your opponent to not do something, make it look good for the crowd, but we know what's really going on here. And when in the demo, we actually got to play with Leo the Beast, which is a lion, and this can just be something that you plonk down in the arena, and the lion just attacks anybody nearby. And so all of a sudden you're like, let's go. I'm going to try to bait my opponent to fight me over by the lion in the hopes that I don't get attacked by the lion, but they get attacked by the lion. And it's just such a fun thing. You can get kicked down wells and traps. And did I mention that the models are absolutely gorgeous? Like, man, it's definitely not an environment or a theme that is used that often in miniature war games, but kind of a coliseum. It's gladiators fighting in an arena, and you've got weird things like this Proximo Titan beast, which is a weird chimera of different creatures all kind of stitched together, but they're not stitched. It just is how that creature is. We've got Komodo dragon riding gladiators. It's such a lovely looking game, and the fighting is so good. It's just, it was really fun. I enjoyed this game more than Shatterpoint. I do need to give Shatterpoint a few more tries because we played like a 5-minute demo of the game. The 5-minute demo, though, didn't knock my socks off. Although some of the new models that they just showed off really did. I don't know. I'm really excited for Arena Rex. It looks like a really fun game. We're going to have so many games around, sitting on all the shelves. What do you want to do today? We got everything. You want to play a little fantasy? You want to play a little gladiator? You want to play boats? You want to get into some historical wargaming, but some actually fun historical wargaming where there's laser tanks? Like, it's going to be great. But the game that I am most excited for, and me alone is most excited for because it's my baby, I got far more than anybody ever needs of Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Fallout New Vegas is my favorite video game of all time. I have like 400 hours in the game. I have actually never ever beaten it once because I never want the game to end. I always like, okay, before I go to Hoover Dam, I'm gonna go on every single side quest. I'm sure there's one NPC on the map that I haven't talked to yet and gone on a silly little fetch quest. Everything about that game is absolutely perfect and amazing. And this game, I got to demo it. It actually does a decent job of being the video game in real life. And that it's not in the way that like this game makes you do all of the work that the computer does behind the scenes, like some other games that I've tried. This actually does a really good job of feeling like giving you the feeling that you do when you're playing Fallout. Like, you have your character, but then you can also pick up just items, and you can also have equipable items. Like you can wear Boone's hat and that makes you better at shooting your guns. Or you can pick up certain weapons like the super sludge or the 10mm pistol. And all of a sudden, like that's the weapon that you have to deal with this particular scenario. And it's such a great little game. And it's got one thing that I really love in a miniature war game is fancy dice. Fancy dice where like, I'm using the Rat Slayer sniper rifle or the Rat Slayer 22 caliber rifle. And so I roll a yellow, a red, and a black dice. And, the yellow is kind of but the black and the red dice are really good. It kind of borrows that idea from like Star Wars Legion. And so the more of the better dice you roll, like some guns are just going to be bad. And so you're always rolling the bad dice, but then some guns are really good. And the way that you actually get to put your team together is in one of the styles of play, you can actually decide what location most of it is based in Fallout 4, but they do have pretty much everything for Fallout New Vegas. And so you actually pick what area you want to fight in, and that you go through a list of those items that are located in that area, and then you can pick from there. So you can't just put your team together with all of the best stuff. Like this area that we're fighting in, the Commonwealth or wherever, it might not have the best stuff or the thing you want. There might not be a power fist available in this area. So you're like, well, I guess I'll have to make do with the BB gun. It just brings me right back to playing hours and hours of Fallout New Vegas and every single little moment that I got to interact with anything in that game. And now I get to have it in person. I have Brahmin. Who doesn't love Brahmin? You're just walking around and then there's a 2-headed cow. I'm going to make the traveling merchants where I have the Brahmins with those giant packs and the soldiers walking around them. I've got the NCR, who actually I don't often side with the NCR because they kind of suck for the Mojave, but I really like them still. And I do like a lot of their quests. One thing I'm really excited for is making a Nightkin team. I love the Nightkin so much. And now I have some. I have some to paint up And not only do I get to paint them up, I get to play with them in a game, in real life. Oh, it's gonna be so great. Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I really like the game. We'll see if I can convince any of my friends to also really like this game. We'll see, but man, I really enjoy it. And Fallout is just the greatest thing of all time. So 5 brand spanking new games for the channel. Really excited. How long is it gonna take to paint all this? Well, currently I have finished 4 Fallout miniatures of the probably 30 that I bought. And then each of these boxes has another good gaggle of miniatures in it. Hopefully really soon, because like I want to play with all this stuff. I want to play with it so bad. And no, I'm not just gonna glue them onto their bases and start playing. That's crazy. But it's gonna take a hot minute. But I'm really excited. And you know what else I'm really excited for? That's right, our Patreon. Every single month we come out with a brand new STL terrain pack, perfect for any war game you can think of. Maybe not the boat one, but I bet you could make the boat one work. This month we have the Twisted Train Station, a very grim and dark board full of some lovely features like a portal to some alternate dimension and some incredibly hazardous terrain. You can get those STLs on our Patreon, all hosted by Comics, Games, and Things. We also make one extra episode of Eon's Battle every single week where we take a look at our viewers' miniatures and give them some critiques and ideas of how to improve their painting. And we have a tier where you can get your name on one of my Black Templar Space Marines and you can join the Immortal Crusade. I am incredibly excited to get all of these games up and running. I've already got some of the Relic Blade miniatures primed up and on bases. And I'm already pretty much done with Fallout Wasteland Warfare because I already have a bunch of the models already and they're all finished and painted up, so I can pretty much crack that box open and get right to playing as soon as I find somebody to play with. Thanks for watching.